never met before, my name's TJ. I'm the pastor here at the Shore Church. And if you want to shake my hand after service, I'll be right in the back. And I'd love to shake your hand if it's your first time here and love to meet you. Other than that, let's get on with this service, all right? The series is an awesome series. I'm really excited about it because here's what happens in my life. I don't know if this happens to you. I have a lot of people telling me how to get rich, but nobody telling me how to be rich. You know what I'm talking about? Like there's a difference there. And I know that some of you guys are going, well, great, the church is talking about money. All they want is money. This is not this series, trust me. I'm not going to tell you how to do this or how to do that, but I'm going to ask you to just kind of put to the side all of our preconceived notions about money in the church for just a little while and listen in with me for 30 minutes about what God says about being rich, okay? Now, many of you guys have come from different church backgrounds and you think, oh great, the preacher's going to tell me if I give $1, God's going to give me $10, just like that guy on TV, and I could have just stayed home and watched that, right? Not a single, no one thought that. Okay, well, here's the deal. I don't believe that. I don't believe if you give $1, God's going to give you 10, and that's how things work. Because if they really believed that, those guys on TV, they wouldn't be asking you for dollars. They'd be giving you dollars, wouldn't they? Like they'd be giving you dollars, and then they would get their tens, right? So if I believed that, you would leave every week with money in your pocket, going, yeah, go ahead, take it, because that's what that theology says. But this week we're not going to be like that. I'm not going to tell you how to get rich. I'm not going to tell you anything like that. But I'm going to talk to you about how to be rich. Because for so many years, many of us, we continually try to get rich, but we never actually learn how to be rich. And if you don't think you are rich, you're never going to learn how to be rich. You're going to keep trying to get rich. Does that make sense? Did I confuse anyone else besides just myself? Think about it. Where's the line between rich and not rich? How do we know when we're rich or not rich? Because there's special verses in the Bible that are dedicated just to rich people. Did you know that? Look at it in your notes. The first verse that's in your notes. I'm not going to go to the blanks yet, but I just want to pull up that verse, and I'm going to read the first couple words of it. And it says this: command those who are rich, ... The Apostle Paul, the guy who wrote a lot of the New Testament, is writing to his young companion, Timothy. And Timothy is a young pastor, and he's starting to pastor people, and Paul goes, hey, this is for the rich people. Tell this to the rich people. Now, based on our conversation a little bit ago, we don't really know what rich is, right? So how can we listen to this if we don't think we're rich? Or if we don't know we're rich? Because isn't rich like this moving target? If I looked around right now, you guys are probably, and I asked the question, who's rich? Nobody would raise their hand, correct? Right? Because they'd be like, oh no, that's private, TJ, it's too embarrassing. In fact, if the preacher talks about money at all, it gets uncomfortable in a room, doesn't it? Nobody else is uncomfortable besides me, right? Doesn't it get weird? But here's the deal. If you talk about money in any other environment, it's still weird. It's not that we're in church that it's weird, but it's just kind of a weird subject. And it's a weird subject because it battles for our heart. God, it should be the number one place in our heart, but what's number two usually? Or what's the one that continually competes for number one in our heart? It's money, isn't it? The Bible even says you cannot serve both God and money. He doesn't say the God and the devil, God and yourself, God and whatever. He says God and money. So money is a very uncomfortable subject. And the reason why I'm doing this series is, one, because God says a lot about money in the Bible, and two, we're entering a season with a lot of excess. You know what I'm talking about? We're gonna hit Thanksgiving, and how many of you guys know that overeating is like, it's excess, right? It's coming our way. You wear your stretchy pants and everything, right? Or at Christmas, how many guys usually you don't have to raise your hand, how many guys go overboard a little bit? You spend a little bit too much, you put a little bit too much on the credit card, and then you get into January and your New Year's resolution is what? I got to get out of debt, right? I got to pay off the credit card. I got to be better financially. I'm going to live with a budget. But you know what? You would have never had to do that had you not gone into the excess in the first place. So this series is designed for two purposes. One, I want you to know how to be rich, just in case you ever are rich someday. And two, I want to take time out now to kind of counteract what this season does to us. To kind of say, you know, we're going into a season of excess, but I don't have to fall prey to all the commercials and all the advertising, and I can live within my means and still have a great holiday season. All right? So, if you guys want, let me talk a little bit more about being rich for a second, okay? Now, all of us know someone that's rich. You wouldn't call yourself rich, but you would go, that guy's really rich. And you've said this, if I had that kind of money, I would, right? Because you think they're bad at being rich, don't you? right? Like, if I were rich, I would do this. I would invest in that. I would buy that. I would buy this. I would do this. I would raise my kids this way. I would make sure that this happened, right? Because you think they're bad at being rich. But today, I want to help everyone be good at being rich, because God's got a lot to say about it. But there's a special set of circumstances that apply to rich people. So did you know, like in the Bible, there's these sections that are laid out just for people who have extra. What is rich? Well, rich is extra, right? Like you met your needs and then you have a little extra money. And so you go through this process, you kind of count, like, you got all your bills, and then you have extra. And the Bible knows, and God knows, that when you have extra, there's a certain set of circumstances that happen that are more stressful in your life than if you didn't have that money, right? And so I call them extra money problems. You want some of these problems? Right? I know you do. I know someone was leaning over going, I want extra money problems. Are you kidding me? Right? But they're extra money problems. In fact, extra money problems. I'm going to share with you some extra money problems, okay? Here's rich people. Rich people have so much extra money that they have someone help them plan what to do with their money. They're called financial planners, right? And financial planners will help them, like, count their money and move their money and make sure their money is doing what their money's supposed to do, right? They also have estate planners because they know that they'll run out of time before they run out of money. You ever think about that? Isn't that kind of weird? Like, you guys don't think this is an odd circumstance? Like they'll run out of time before they run out of money. How many guys would like to have that problem? Right? Like, I will die and there will be money left over for my kids. Whoa! I want my parents to have that problem, all right? Not that they die. Not that they would die, but they would have money left over for their kids. I think that'd be pretty awesome, all right? So, but rich people have these problems. They have problems with their house. And this is going to get a little bit more personal, and I'm going to make you uncomfortable today on purpose, okay? So I'm just declaring that right now. All right, rich people houses, okay? Rich people will do this. They'll go to their house, they'll look around, they'll take out things that are perfectly good, that are working, and replace them with other things that are working. Example, like a refrigerator. They will take out their old refrigerator. Why? It's old. Does it work? Yes. And they'll put it in with a new refrigerator. Why? It's new. That's it. The only reason it's new, it's old, new. They also do this in bathrooms. You ever been there where the bathroom, the counters are all nice and neat and they work? You could sit on them. They're solid. But what do we do as rich people? I need new ones, man. Rip those things out. And then we're inconvenienced, right? All the people walking through our house, the dust, the dirt. I have to use my other bathroom. Oh my gosh, right? Like, the inconvenience, right? Like, I have two bathrooms and I can't use one of them, okay? I'm whatever. That's a problem that we put upon ourselves. Rich people have this problem too. They have these rooms off of their bedrooms that are called closets. And some of them are walk-in closets. Like, it's a whole room. Like, you could put tons, and they're filled with clothes. How many guys have ever seen or heard of one of these places called a closet, right? And you can walk in it, and this has never happened in my house. It may have happened in your house. I've just heard of this happening, where a lady will walk into her closet and look at all the clothes and say, I have. It happens in your house, doesn't it? Right? Yeah, this is a rich people problem. I'm just telling you right now. And what does the husband do? He thinks in his head, I might as well just cancel the reservations right now, right? Why? Because he's so rich, he can pay someone else to make food for him. Think about it. Rich. And then he wanders to the garage, because where do guys go when when their wives are like, I have nothing to wear, I hate my hair, I can't find shoes, this one or this one, right? Like, you guys ever do that? Guys, you ever seen your wife go, this pair or this? Like, you have a choice between shoes? You're so rich, right? And so he wanders to the garage because that's his safe place. And inside, you know what a garage is? Rich people have garages. It's a special room on their house with a special door that is just for their cars. They have a house for their cars. There are people in the world that don't even have houses, and we have a house for our car, sometimes double wide to get two in there, all right? And he looks at the car and he's thinking, wow, this car is a whole year old. Maybe I should get a new one. Oh, it's lost the new car smell. Rich people problems, extra money problems. And then I have to go talk to the dealership and da-da-da, right? Extra money problems. And it continues and it goes on and goes on. Last one, my favorite part about the house for rich people is the guest room. Have you ever really thought of the purpose of a guest room? We have a room in our house dedicated that nobody uses except for someone who shows up just in case. You ever thought of that? Like, I don't even know who's going to sleep in this room next, but I've got it prepared for them. Rich people problems, okay? Like, think about that. But here's the deal. All of us kind of have this rich thing going on, but we don't really realize it, do we? Okay, here's my final last rich people problem, okay? Vacations. Your company tells you for 2 weeks you cannot work. We will not let you work for 2 weeks, and we're going to pay you. Think about that. It's sick, isn't it? Like you don't have to work, but I'm going to pay you. Now there's stress involved. Because what do you have to do? You have to take a vacation. Where are we going to go? How are we going to spend our extra money? Have you ever tried to make reservations anywhere? Like hotels, flights? It's all pretty stressful, isn't it? And then when you get back, what do people say? So, where'd you go? And what do you have to do? You have to fake like you had a really good time, don't you? Because it was stressful. Your kids were little hellions. Like you were having a terrible time. Your kids are screaming on the airplane. The service was terrible. Your reservation wasn't what you thought it was. You had to wait in line for 6 hours at Disney. Okay, right? That's just me. All right, and then you kind of go, yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. All because you have this extra time and this extra money, rich people problem, right? Nobody else. You guys are awful quiet because is this hitting close to home with you guys too? I think we all have these problems. And I think we would all go, I'm not rich. I'm not rich. But who is rich? Think about it. Who is? If you make below $50,000 per year, did you know that if you do, according to Gallup polls, below $50,000 a year, you think $100,000 a year is rich. If you make more than $50,000 a year, up to about $100,000, you think $200,000 is rich. Like that's the line for you. The average American thinks $150,000 is rich. Now, if I were to look at you and go, hey, you make $150,000, everyone in America, or most of the people in America, think you're rich, you would kind of go, I don't feel rich. I got a mortgage, I got kids, I got college to pay for, I got retirement, I've got this and this and this and this. And all of us kind of have this unique circumstance where we go, no, I'm not rich, because we know someone that has more than us and we think they're rich. But if we don't know we're rich, how are we ever going to listen to when the Bible says, hey, if you're rich, act this way? Think about that for a second. If the Bible goes, hey, command rich people to do this, but when none of us think we're rich, who's going to listen to that? None of us, right? But the reality is, we've got to determine whether we are or are not. And here's the problem, though. Rich is a moving target. The most rich I ever felt was not the most money I've ever made. When I made the most money, I felt the same as when I made less money. It's just because I had more bills, more kids to pay for, more things to do. But the most rich I ever felt was when I was in 6th grade. When I was in 6th grade, I found $42 on the ground. And I felt rich. Now, I was a saver. I've always been a saver, so I've saved my birthday money, saved my Christmas money, whatever. I probably had $40 in my room, but I found 42 more. I felt rich. Why? Because I had extra. I had my savings. I had everything taken care of because my parents paid for everything, right? And then I had $42. My little sister's friend was over at the house when I found this, and I came home. I was like, look what I found! And she goes, that's the most money I've ever seen. I was like, and I believed her. She thought I was rich. I thought I was rich. I was doing all right. So here's the point. Is $42 a lot of money? No, but rich is a feeling, isn't it? Isn't rich a feeling? Isn't it? It doesn't matter how much you make, but it's what you do with what you make that makes you feel rich or not. So when I say to you guys, hey, I think you're rich, you guys are going to go, I don't feel rich. Check it out. Let's look at the world stats. If you make the U.S. average of $52,000 per year per household, that's the U.S. average, you're the top 1% of wage earners in the world. You're rich. At least in someone's eyes, you're rich. You could be Bill Gates, you could be whoever you want, or you could be you, and everybody else in the world is going, you're rich. In fact, if you are living at the poverty line in the United States, you're still in the top 10 to 13% of the world. All of us are rich. And now, I'm not ignorant to think that someone in here is not going through some financial stress, medical bills, divorce, whatever, right? I'm not ignorant to that. But I'd say about 99% of us in here this morning, by world standards, you're doing all right. So let's go to your notes. Let's go to the blanks. Number one, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you this question. Where are you? Not like in physical location, but in the rich scale. right? Think about it. Where are you in the rich scale? Or a better question is, are you rich? And I told you, I'm going to make you uncomfortable today. And it's very quiet in here this morning, all right? But I knew it was going to be this way because talking about money it's tough. But here's my question for you. You don't have to answer it out loud. You don't have to write it down. Where are you? Are you rich or not? Think about it. Are you rich? Well, compared to the world standard, you are. You are. And so when we don't feel rich, we kind of go, well, TJ, I don't really believe that because I don't feel that way. None of you guys are going to go home and you're not going to go to talk to your spouse and go, psst, we're rich. Let's throw a party. This is awesome. The preacher told me we're rich today. You're not going to knock on your neighbor's door and be like, guess what? Went to church today, found out I'm rich, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you're all rich. You're all rich. It's going to be awesome, right? You're not going to do that. Why? Because nobody's excited to find out they're rich today. Welcome to church. You're all rich, and nobody's excited about it. Because why? Because you don't feel rich. But I think all of us, if we really stopped and thought about it, are we rich or are we not rich? There's people around the world that are looking at us and going, wow, if I had that much, I'd really be set for life. Doesn't matter where you are in this room, like high income, low income, whatever. There's people looking around at us going, man, if I had that much, I would. And they think we're bad at being rich. But today, this series, I want us to be good at being rich. And so we're going to talk about how to be good at being rich, how to be rich. I want to read this verse with you and then do a little talk with you, all right? So, command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Think about that for a second. God has given us a destination. If you're rich, act this way. Okay? So you guys remember the old school maps where, like, when I was a kid, when we'd travel to go visit family, my dad had an atlas. And we'd open up the atlas to the state that we were in before GPS, before iPhones and all that stuff. We had to find out where we were going, and you had to know one other thing, right? Where you currently are on the map, because the map doesn't move with you. It's kind of just stays there. So you have to figure out where you are. Now, God is saying, this is your destination, that verse. If you're rich, this is where you need to go. But if you never know your starting point, if you never know that you actually are rich, you're never going to be able to get there, right? Because you're continually going to be trying not just to be rich, you're going to try to get rich because you don't know that you are rich. At some point in your life, you're probably going to accidentally become rich and not even know it. You're never going to get a paycheck and go, hey, you know what? I became rich today. Congratulations. Or a bonus, or you're not going to walk in tomorrow morning to work and go, whew, officially made it. I'm rich. Yeah, November 2013, made it. I'm rich. Not going to happen. So we need to determine now where we are so that we can one day be where God has called us to be. You have to determine, are you rich or are you not rich? And I know, it's tough. It's hard to ask yourself this question. Well, I don't have that much. Listen, it doesn't matter what you have. It's what you do with what you have that makes you rich or not rich. And so God is saying to us, hey, that's the destination. Let's take a journey together. Let's make this happen. Number 2, check this out. In your notes, you got to ask yourself another question. Is your motive gratitude? Because here's what happens. In our culture, there's a certain amount of guilt or evilness that is associated with riches, right? Like, how many times have you heard people with wealth become villainized? Right? Think about it. Like how many times is it the man is the bad guy? And this isn't political, but this is just kind of ingrained in our culture. So we never want to be rich because then that makes us a bad guy. And so oftentimes what happens is if we do get to a certain point where we do have a certain amount of wealth, where we can use it for any kind of affluence, we kind of go, well, I feel really bad. I feel guilty. In fact, there's whole groups of people and organizations that kind of go, you know what? I'm trying to, they just want to make you feel guilty so that they can get your money. There's churches that do this. Like if I stood up for the offering, it was like, there's leaks in the roof, and I need your money to fix the church roof, and it's God's tears falling from heaven because he's crying, because you're not giving, and you hear the thunder, he's angry. He's sending angels. He's going to come get you. You know, like whatever. That's guilt, right? And so oftentimes what's associated when we earn a paycheck or we earn something and we find out that we're the top 1% of income earners in the world, we go, oh, I feel bad about that. I feel guilty about that. I feel like an evil person because I've taken too much of the share. But here's the deal. why would you feel guilty about something that you didn't control in the first place? Did you control where you were born? Did you control where your parents are? Who your parents are, where they took you to be born? Do you control how smart you are? Pretty sure God made you that way, right? Did you come up with all the ideas, or did God give you the brain to make that happen? Your work ethic, is that your work ethic, or did God put that inside of you in the first place? Think about it. Why would you feel guilty for something that God gave you? You never wake up on Christmas morning and open your present and go, oh, I feel so guilty right now. Never going to happen. Why? What do you feel when somebody gives you a gift? Thankful, right? You feel gratitude. All of us have this amazing gift from God. All of us have been given something by God, and we can open up that gift and we can go, you know what? God, I'm so thankful for this. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel anything else. I feel thankful that you've blessed me where I am. And that should be our motivator. Now, am I saying that when you give, God's going to make you rich and all of us should be rich, rich, rich? No, I don't think the amount of money that you make indicates how good of a person you are. I don't think there's really a correlation. I think the correlation should be with our gratitude. Are we motivated by a thankfulness to God for what he's given us? And we use whatever we have to be good at being rich. Does that make sense? Let's let gratitude be our motivator. I love this verse from Thessalonians. It says, be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong to Christ Jesus. Be thankful in all circumstances. Think about this. Have you ever been down and out where you feel like you don't have any money, you're under a lot of stress, bad things are happening in your life, you're in the valley, you're in the dark, and you hear a verse like this, and you're going, okay, I'm going to be thankful even though I don't have a lot. Well, this verse also applies to the other end. When we have a lot, when we have a lot of going on in our life, where we're on the mountaintop instead of the valley, things are going right, we feel like everything's working in our life, shouldn't we also give thanks then? Shouldn't we also be motivated by gratitude in our heart and our mind and our life? Shouldn't we let that roll out with us? I think God has given us the gratitude factor, not the guilt factor. God doesn't use guilt to motivate us. He uses gratitude to motivate us. And so when he wants something done in the world, he wants something changed, he says, this is your destination. Gratitude is the road that leads us there. Gratitude is going to take us and shape us and help us become who God has called us to be. And then the third and final question is this. Are you responsible? Because if God says, where are you? You're rich? Great. Here's your destination. Gratitude is going to motivate us to take the journey into where God has called us to be. But we need to say, you know what? I need to take the responsibility and say, you know what? This is me. This is a step that I need to take. This is something that I need to do in my life. And so the question is this. Are you responsible? Once we've identified that we are kind of in that upper class group of people, we need to take the responsibility. I'm going to do something that makes you really, 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 really uncomfortable, especially the guys, all right? I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, and we're going to declare once and for all that yes, in this world, now I know there's going to be some pushback here, in this world that we actually are rich. You may not feel rich, but based on the statistics, you are. So do this with me. Repeat after me. Say, I have more than I need. I am rich. I have more than I need. I am rich. Do you feel richer? No, you didn't, did you? Did it work? No. Because we're not declaring something that's like, I'm rich, I'm prosperous. We're not doing that. We're stating a fact that God has given us more than we need, and I'm going to do something about it. So when the Bible says, hey, if you're rich, do this, we need to own up and go, you know what? I live in a country that is wealthy. I live in an area of our country that is wealthy. And God is asking me to do something with my life and with my riches. And so it says this. I love this last part of the verse. And we're going to dive more into this verse as the series goes on. In 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 18, this is a continuation of the first verse. It says this, tell them, this is the rich people, to use their money to do good. They should be rich. They should be rich in good works and generous to those in need, always being ready to share with others. By doing this, they will store up treasure for a good foundation for the future, so they may experience true life. Think about this. You should be rich, but you should be rich in good deeds. And so God has given us a responsibility. When we said, I'm rich, you didn't feel richer, but it's a fact. We live in an area where we are rich. And we live in a city that is rich. We also live in a city where there's great need. We live in a nation where there's great need. We live in a world where there's great needs. And so it's our responsibility to kind of go, you know what? I need to do something about this. I need to take my wealth and I need to be rich in good deeds. I need to do something about this. And so if you look at your notes, on the backside of your notes, there's 4 ministries that I want us as a church to make a difference in. This is not going like, hey, give to the church so that the church can do this. No. We're giving everything away to these 4 ministries over the next couple of weeks. All right? So check this out. When we give, we're making a difference in our life, in someone else's life, and for eternity. And when we give, you know what that means? We're actually becoming more like God. Because God is the ultimate giver, isn't he? He had so much life, so much forgiveness, so much grace going on inside of him that he couldn't hold it all back. He had so much wealth of grace that he had to pour it out on all of us by sending his son. So when we give, we're actually imitating God. The word Christian literally means little Christ. It means to be like Christ, to be like God. And when we give, we're actually acting in a very godly way. And so over the next 3 weeks, not this week, but starting next week and for the next 3 weeks, my goal for us as a church is to practice being rich. And you still may not be convinced that you're rich. You go, TJ, I'm not rich. Are you kidding me? I don't have a lot. And I'm not saying you do have a lot. But I'm saying I would like for you to practice being rich so that just in case one day you accidentally become rich, you know how to do it well. So on the backside of your notes, our goal is to take these 4 ministries and this month to raise $10,000 to give away. And I know for some of you, practicing being rich is going to be difficult. It's going to take a little bit of conversation with God, and it's going to work on you. But here's what we want to do over the next 4 weeks. The first ministry on there is called Hope Kids. And this is the first tier that we'd like to get to. If we raise $2,500, all of it is going to go to Hope Kids. And we're going to sponsor what's called a Day of Hope. Now, a Day of Hope is when a bunch of kids from the community are invited in, and they don't have enough money for back-to-school clothes, back-to-school shoes, backpacks, supplies. We're going to give them doctor's visits, dental visits, haircuts, the whole thing. We're gonna do it all, and it takes about $100 per kid to make this happen. Now, $2,500, the goal for this month is going to reach 25 kids. Our goal, ultimately, is to raise enough money between now and August to do 200 kids that we can get ready for back to school. And we as a church, as a young church, we're not even 2 years old, we're going to try to be rich. We're a young church. We don't have a lot of extra margin in our budgets and things like that. But what we do, we have a desire to be generous. And so as a church, we want to take on this $20,000 burden. And I'd like for you to practice being rich with me by reaching that first milestone with us of $2,500. The next milestone is another local ministry that we want to partner with here in the Sarasota, Bradenton area. It's called Sail of Freedom. And as you know, human trafficking has been kind of brought to the radar worldwide. But did you know that the state of Florida is the 3rd worst state for human trafficking in the nation? In the Sarasota, Bradenton, Tampa area, our west coast here is the 3rd worst in our state. I don't think we can be rich in this state and not do something about it. You know what I'm saying? There's a huge responsibility on us. There's more animal shelters, like 10 to 1 animal shelters than there are for people who have been abused in the sex trafficking and the human trafficking area of life in our state. It's time for us to do something about that. And so we're going to try and raise $2,500 to go towards Sail of Freedom. And if you need more information about any of that, it's in your notes. You can go to the website, check it out. I think we need to do something about that. The next level is no longer local because we believe in working in multiple levels. Jesus said, go into all the world, make disciples in Jerusalem, which is our local town, Judea, Samaria, which would be our nation, and to the ends of the earth. So we're going to go national with a group, a ministry that plants churches. It's called the Ark. They help us plant this church. And because they helped us plant this church in the year 2012, we gave away $22,000 to church planting and missions and people all over the world. And this year we're hoping to give away even more. So they invested a little bit into us, and we got to give a lot more than they invested in us. And it's going to keep going year after year. And so all the ARC churches, they started with one, there's about 400 now, and every single year, about $8 million are being given away to missions through the ARC churches. So every dollar we sow into them, it gets multiplied into many more because they're growing churches, thriving churches that are giving into missions. So our goal there is $2,500 to affect the national level here at the Shore. And then finally, the international level, we want to go with a ministry called Watoto. And if you weren't here last March, we had the Watoto kids here with us. It's from Uganda. It's one of the ministries that's kind of near and dear to my heart. These kids are fabulous kids. We'd like to raise $2,500 to send over there to them. And what their main ministry is this. In Uganda, the AIDS epidemic has hit pretty hard. There's a lot of civil war, so a lot of fathers have been lost to disease or war. And so we have a lot of orphans running around, and we have a lot of moms who are, left without a husband, raising kids on their own, can't support themselves. So what Watoto does is they'll take a mom who has lost a husband, take her kids, and add to them some other orphans. And so it's about 8 kids and a mom in a house. And they put them in a village with other moms, and they have a normal life in a normal village. They pay for their schooling, all of their care, and they have about, I think it says in your notes right there, 2,000 children in the 3 villages that they have in 3 baby homes right now, which is absolutely incredible. But here's the most beautiful part about all of it. Their goal is to not just take care of orphans, but their goal is to raise little country changers. To take them from even the youngest age, working them all the way up until they get to go to college, pay for their way to go to college, get them in the government and into the different areas of science and teaching and other things all throughout the nation, and change the nation from the inside out. They want to heal a nation one generation at a time, and I want to help be a part of that. And so they're making efforts to become self-supporting with their industry that they're creating there, and hopefully change the city or the nation from the inside out. And I want to be a part of that. And so our final goal is $2,500 to go to them as well. So for this month, all across this church, starting next weekend, we're going to ask you to kind of ask yourself, am I rich? And hopefully the answer is yes, because you live in the United States. I believe you are, in fact, rich. And then ask yourself, what can I do out of my extra to make a difference in my city, in my nation, and in my world? Because remember, when we want to act godly, it's because we give, or we give to act godly, like God gave for us. And that's where all of this starts. If we look at the verse that's in your notes, for God so loved the world, it's the last one, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. What a great gift that was. That whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. That was the first and greatest gift any one of us has ever received. And God did it before you were even around. He knew you, and yet he gave it anyway. And so this morning, the first thing to get this giving, Be Rich campaign in motion is for every single one of us to take to heart what God said to us, where he says, I have this abundance of life, real, true, honest life, and I want to give it to you. I want to pour it out in your life. I want to make a difference in the world, so I'm going to give it to you. That's where we all start. We accept that gift. We say, okay, God, thank you very much. And then we turn out to the world around us, and we let the light and the life and the love of God shine through us. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you guys just to close your eyes, bow your heads for a moment. I'm going to pray a prayer. And if the words kind of resonate in your heart, I want you to say it with me quietly in your seat. Just a moment between you and God. And this is the prayer. God, I'm sitting here right now. I don't know if I'm rich or not. But I know that I need you. I know I need this new life, this gift that Jesus gives. And so I pray right now that you would forgive me of every sin, that you would work in my heart, that you would make me new and help me become the person that you have called me to be, Jesus. Thank you, God. In your name we pray. Everybody says, amen.